What's up, everybody? Week 18 Buffalo Bills regular season finale. A lot on the line for the Bills this past week. Coming into the week, we didn't even know if they would be in the NFL postseason this season. They had not locked up their spot after 17 weeks and headed down to Miami with the division on the line, and the boys took care of business, man. How about that? 4 straight years AFC East champs, and it's crazy how much of a roller coaster of a season it's been for the Bills, for the players, obviously, the coaches, going from coaching changes through the middle of the season. Obviously for the fans, it's been nuts. But here we are, man. We're in the playoffs yet again. We snuck in. I wouldn't even say snuck in, because we're in as the 2 seed, which is just, again, mind-blowing compared to where this team was. But, wow, they did it. I didn't have a great feeling going into this week. I thought Miami would be motivated, especially after getting embarrassed the week before in Baltimore. And, it was Miami's division this season. After the lull that the Bills hit after that London game where they just couldn't do anything right on offense and lost games, and Miami had a 3-game lead in the division with 5 weeks left to play, and they're gonna look back on this season and they're gonna circle that Tennessee primetime game where they blew it at home to the Titans. They're gonna circle that one as the one that cost them the division. And yeah, it's crazy to even try to put into words. Last week I did the video following the game immediately, obviously with last night's being a late night game. I waited till this victory Monday to put some thoughts together, and it's hard to do. I could wait until midweek, but I'm going to follow the lead of the Bills players, and we're now on to Pittsburgh. We're on to the wild card round. But what a crazy night in Miami. Bills are the AFC East champs again, and crazy. But we'll start off. I guess we'll do our best at a recap here. It started off ugly for the Bills. I think what a lot of national media teams have been saying, and I kind of agree with them, and I like the analogy they used, is last night's game was like just a total copy of what the Bills season was into one game. They started out slow. They got hot. They couldn't put things together when they needed to. But at the end, they got hot, and they did just enough to win the game. And that's been the story of the Bills this season. They come out on defense, win the coin toss, kick it off to Miami. Miami gets a couple first downs, and then Tua takes his chunk play. He underthrows Tyreek by probably a good 10 yards. And, Christian Benford undercuts it, picks it off. Bills get the turnover on the first possession of the game, and you're feeling good. That's how you wanted to start the game, set the tone, and then the Bills offense comes on the field, man, and they looked pretty good. They were moving the ball. Josh looked pretty good throwing the ball. I still don't think he's 100%. I go back to that Kansas City game and all the just hits I think he took there. He hadn't looked quite the same since that game, so that's why I always, I guess, get a little extra critical of his numbers. But he looked good to start. Was taking the plays that what Miami was giving him. I love that they were doing these little curl routes to Diggs, for a good 5-6 yards on first down, and they move the ball and they get all the way down to the red zone. 3rd down, Miami brings an all-out blitz. Gabe Davis, he runs to the back of the end zone, turns one way, Josh throws it the other way, it's picked off. So a drive that Buffalo stole from Miami, could have at the very least ended up in 3 points. Buffalo walks away 0 points, turns the ball over. Then Miami, they don't do nothing with it, and then we get another. Later in the first half, we get another Josh Allen. Just a hero moment where he tries to do a little bit too much, and the Bills go for it on fourth down. Josh has I believe it was 4th and 2. Josh has a little out route to Dalton Kincaid. Would have got enough for the first down. He looks that way. If you go back and look at the replay, he looks that way. That's his first read. For whatever reason, didn't like what he saw. I mean, he was open. It would have got him. It would have gotten the first down and then some. But he didn't like what he saw, and rolls out to his right, and Miami's there waiting for him, and he just throws it up into the Miami end zone and gets picked off again. And from there, that's kind of when things started to go Miami's way a little bit. They were able to finally put together a drive, get the first points of the game, and in our little our group chat that we have, I was like, all right, well, maybe that's what Josh needed, was a wake up call. Like, hey, it's time to go now. Time to put on your big boy pants, get to work. And they did. They answered. They went right down the field, put up the points. It was a fluky touchdown, but it's a touchdown nonetheless. Josh did the little quick RPO read where, he fakes it to Cook and pulls it real quick and then tries to gun it into a tight window in the end zone and throws it right off a defender's head. Ball goes straight up in the air, comes down right in the back of the end zone. Trent Sherfield there waiting for it. It almost looked like it was a design play. That's how well it worked out at the end. But drags the toes. Tie ball game. Miami's able to get some more points right before the half. Another touchdown, and Buffalo gets the ball back with a chance right before halftime to answer with a field goal at the very least. Obviously, touchdown to tie it. They drive down the field. They get all the way down there. And again, Miami comes with an all-out blitz that seemed to be really effective against Josh, especially in the first half yesterday. And Josh takes an underneath route with no timeouts. I think I want to say there was like 7 seconds on the clock, if that. Like I said, no timeout, so the ball either had to be in the end zone or incomplete, and he throws it underneath to Ty Johnson. And it's a good ball, it's a good play if they had a timeout, but they didn't have a timeout. He gets stuffed at the 1 yard line. Buffalo walks away with no points, and obviously that's a tough pill to swallow, especially because that's the 2 Josh interceptions, and then that play right before the half. At the very least, that's 9 points taken off the board, and Buffalo goes into the half down 7 instead. So, but yeah, they didn't look too organized. I don't know if that's the right word. In sync, maybe. They just. I think what happened, just based on what I've seen and watched them this season, I really think that the all-out pressure, I think, started to mess with them a little bit, because that all-out pressure got home almost every single time. The Bills' offensive line, for as good as they've been this year, man, they could not stop the all-out pressure. And to Miami's credit, they dialed it up whenever they needed it, and it worked almost every time. And I think it started to play a little bit in the back of the mind of Joe Brady and Allen. But I think, just going forward, they've obviously got to adjust for that, especially in the playoffs. Now that they're playing Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is another team that gets after the quarterback. I think it's a simple fix. I think it's just that, you got to give Josh a safety net. You got to give him a hot route option. And they kind of adjusted a little bit. You saw in the third quarter they started to bring pressure, and Kincaid was breaking off routes and helping Josh out. And I think it's an easy fix. It's going to be more of you got to get Josh to take the option, because that's kind of been one of his Achilles heel this year. Is he doesn't want to take the easy stuff. But yeah, it was a pretty boring third quarter. Buffalo got the ball first, didn't do much with it. Gives it to Miami. They don't do nothing with it, and then Buffalo gets the ball back, and they take almost the entire third quarter. They drive slowly, methodically, kind of what these Bills drives have been at the end of games here recently. They march down the field, and they get within striking distance. It's third and I want to say medium. I can't remember the exact yardage, but they're obviously in field goal range, and I believe they were inside the 20, so they were in the red zone. And Miami brings out all-out pressure, and Josh tries to react to it, tries to scramble, and Christian Wilkins reaches in there and strips Josh of the ball and takes 3 more points off the board for Buffalo. And that basically ended the third quarter. I mean, Miami got the ball, ran a quick play to Tyreek, and that took us to the fourth quarter. But Buffalo's defense steps up, gets a stop, and forces Miami to punt it. And one of my biggest knocks on the Bills this season has been their special teams unit. And boy, talk about a game to make up for your shortcomings this season. Miami punts it away. Deontay Hardy, 96-yard punt return, tie ball game. Longest punt return in Buffalo Bills team history. And what a time for it. I mean, Buffalo needed a spark, and that was it. That's what they needed. And the boys rallied. Defense shut her down again. Buffalo was able to, again, march down the field, put up a touchdown, go up 21-14, gives the ball back to Miami. Again, Miami kind of doesn't do much with it, gives it back to Buffalo. Buffalo, again, drives, kills time on the clock, goes for it on fourth down. The tush push, or the bobsled, the Buffalo bobsled, I guess is what they're trying to call the Buffalo's version of it. But it's been a successful play for the Bills ever since they started using it, and they try it on 4th and 1, and they get stuffed. And they give it back to Miami with some time left, and the Bills defense rises to the occasion. Tua throws a pick, ball game over, division over, Bills win. Crazy night. It's I keep trying to think of a game to compare it to, or a season to compare it to, and I think the most recent comparison maybe would be the 2020-2021 Bucks, the year they won the Super Bowl, where they started out really, really just slow, and at one point I believe they were at 500 too, with like 5 or 6 games left to play, and then obviously they go on and do their thing. And I mean, this Bills team was dead in the water. I mean, like I said earlier, coming into the last week of the season, they did not have a playoff spot locked up, and they had 2 scenarios that would guarantee them a spot before they even played. The first one was on Saturday night, Saturday. The Steelers traveled to Baltimore. Baltimore had already locked up the 1 seed. They didn't play any of their starters. And Pittsburgh had their season on the line. They had to win, and they took care of business. That was a team that the Bills needed to lose to guarantee a spot. So that was one scenario out the window. So, then it came down to Sunday, and with the Bills being the late game, they were able to watch the other scenario, which was Jacksonville at Tennessee. Bills needed Jacksonville to lose. Obviously, they lost the head-to-head matchup in London, so they needed Jacksonville to lose to at least guarantee themselves a spot in the playoffs. So Tennessee, their last game of the season, they were playing for pride, and obviously it's a division rival for them. And Tennessee pulled the upset off, and that was enough to at least guarantee the Bills a playoff spot. So, prior to kickoff, Buffalo finally had a playoff spot locked up, and it was either going to be lose and they would be the 7th seed and come right back to Miami, because if Miami wins, they would have been the 2. Or we're the 2 seed, we get a home game, and we would host the Pittsburgh Steelers. And not only, obviously, is playing at home in the playoffs huge, but, man, talk about a momentum, or just a total mind, I don't want to cuss, so it's just a mind blank for the Dolphins. It's like, you know, at one point a couple weeks ago, you're looking at hosting teams in Miami, 70-degree weather and real nice. Well, now they're heading to Kansas City next Saturday night, primetime matchup in Arrowhead against the defending Super Bowl champions. Well, yes, they have not looked good this season. It's still Arrowhead. It's still the playoffs. It's still Patrick Mahomes. And, oh, by the way, it's going to be 12 degrees in Kansas City. So that's just how much of a total roller coaster that, you know, Miami fans and players and coaches and everybody over there has got to be feeling. You know, just not that long ago, they were looking to be playing their home playoff games, you know, in 70-degree weather, and now here they are heading to Kansas City. So, meanwhile, Buffalo, like I said, they stay home. Well, not stay home, but they come back to Orchard Park. They get to host a playoff game. Pittsburgh comes to town. You know, it's a team that, you know, they're kind of playing with house money a little bit. I don't think a lot of people predicted that they would even be in the playoffs. I mean, that AFC North, man, talk about a season up there between the Ravens, the Browns, and the Steelers, all in the playoffs this year. And it'll be interesting. It's a team that, you know, obviously they look up and they're in the playoffs, and they're going to be without their star pass rusher, but it's still a team that's a good defense. It's a well-coached team, and the Bills are going to need to keep their foot on the gas. This is obviously do or die now. We're in the playoffs, and every game's important from here on out. Like I've been saying for weeks, like the Bills players have been saying for weeks, it don't matter how you get them, just get them. And you don't care if you win by 1 or if you win by 100, but you know, just survive in advance and see where you get. So I think they're calling for winds, possible snow showers in Orchard Park on Sunday. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff game, so there's that. But yeah, I don't know what else I can really add to right now. I'm sure there'll be some more storylines throughout the week, but crazy. Bills are the 2 seed. They're your division champs, 4th straight season. Oh, and I do like to throw in a cool little, if there are history stat, or like history nuggets for all the stat people out there. I mentioned the punt return, longest in Bills team history. Dalton Kincaid, the week before I told you he broke the team's rookie receiving record for most receptions in a season by a rookie. Well, this week he breaks the Bills' tight end receiving record. Not rookie tight end, but total, in general, tight ends receiving record in the season. So, impressive stuff from the rookie. Gonna need him going on stretch for sure. So, as always, after 17 of these, appreciate y'all listening in. Hopefully, we're going to be sitting here next week, advance the divisional round, and looking to see who's coming to play the Bills in Orchard Park for the divisional round. So, appreciate y'all. Go Bills.